Welcome on behalf of St. Andrew's and St. Cyprian's Episcopal churches here in Darien, Georgia. Welcome to Palm Sunday. Before moving on into this homily, I would suggest to you that it may be helpful for you to read the appropriate scriptures for the day. Matthew chapter 21, verses 1 to 11, and Matthew chapter 26, verse 14, through chapter 27, verse 66. Well, we are at Palm Sunday. Such an unusual service that begins with such joy. We gather normally, except for the extraordinary circumstances of the day, we would be gathering outside, blessing palms and processing in triumphantly with great stirring music to remember Jesus' entry into Jerusalem, where the people were welcoming him as a king. Jesus himself, though, being humble, riding on a donkey. And we move from that joy and sense of triumph to the Passion Gospel. This day actually has two names. Palm Sunday is one, but the other name for this day, this Sunday, is the Sunday of the Passion. And that's important because the word passion is frequently misunderstood. It comes from the Latin root of the word for suffering. And this service moves from the joy of Jesus' triumphal entry into suffering and pain. In the Passion Gospel, which we read in parts on this Sunday, there's an extraordinary amount of pain. Towards the end of the Last Supper, Jesus says that one of his closest associates is going to betray him, the others are going to desert him, and his chief follower, chief disciple and apostle, Peter, is going to deny him. Imagine the pain felt by those disciples and the pain felt by Jesus in that prediction. The gospel moves on to the Garden of Gethsemane, where Jesus is praying, where Jesus is obviously in agony about what is about to happen, so much so that he prays to his Father to take this cup from him. But then, of course, he says, "Not my will, but thy will be done." Praying so hard that in one of the other Gospels it is said that Jesus sweated blood. And right after the prayers in the Garden of Gethsemane, Judas arrives, the betrayal occurs, the disciples desert, and Jesus is taken to the house of the high priest, and is there, Peter, sneakily following behind, is confronted about his association with Jesus, and he denies Jesus. Not once, not twice, but 3 times. The pain that Peter felt. And of course, in the kangaroo court that Jesus endured in the high priest's house, Jesus is convicted. He's mocked. He's spit upon. More pain and humiliation. He's turned over to Pilate, who turns him over to the Roman guards, who dress him as a king in total mockery. And then, according to some of the other Gospels, he is whipped, he's scourged, he's essentially tortured, and he's handed over for crucifixion. And there he dies, suffers an excruciating death. This is a Sunday of pain and suffering. And the suffering doesn't end there. It doesn't end there because this service has a particular meaning for us as Christians. When we read the gospel in parts, all of us have a particular part, the part of the crowd, the part where Pontius Pilate asked the people of Jerusalem, what do we do with Jesus? Do we release him or release the murderer Barabbas? And we repeat the words of the crowd. In Matthew's gospel, it is, let him be crucified. In some of the other gospels, it's crucify him. And we say those words on Palm Sunday. Those are our words. And they're true words. Because in our daily life, so often we betray Jesus. We deny Jesus. We desert Jesus. And in our actions, in our daily lives, we say, crucify him. And if that part of the Passion Gospel where we say, let him be crucified, if that doesn't hit you, you're not paying attention. It's pain for us today. Such pain that we ordinarily couldn't even tolerate it in conjunction with all the other pain of the Passion Gospel. But we can tolerate, and we do tolerate it, because we know the rest of the story. We can go through this Passion Gospel because we know that Easter is coming. We can hear this Passion Gospel. We can even hear ourselves say the words, crucify him, because we know that we worship a God, even one we betray, who loves us beyond all measure. Who loves us so much that he went to the cross even though he did not have to. He loved humanity so much that he uttered the words, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. We worship a God who loves so much that he raised his son Jesus from the dead, and in doing so defeated death forever. That's a triumph that makes Jesus' entry into Jerusalem small change for the triumph of the defeat of death, which only occurs after first the pain of the passion of our Lord Jesus Christ. I invite you to go with me into the pain of Holy Week. But go with me into Holy Week knowing that no matter how difficult it is, Easter is coming. The resurrection is coming. It's already occurred. Jesus is the first fruits. And the love of God, as shown on that great Easter morning, will never abandon us. Not in the face of this COVID-19, and not in the face of our own mortality. May you have a blessed Holy Week in preparation for a glorious, glorious Easter. May God bless you and keep you. May he make his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. Lift up his countenance upon you and grant you his peace.